All right. Happy class day. We have already had an introduction into World War One. We spent a couple of weeks learning about imperialism to lay the foundation for why on earth did countries go to war, for it to be called, the war to end all wars, the Great War, the First World War. So that's what we're looking at today. What are the underlying causes? We have learned, and I'll repeat this in a few minutes, through imperialism, that relationships around the world were not really set up for friendship at this point. It set up competition between countries. So let's see, how did this lead us down some kind of road to where these big countries actually went to war, and it was included the world. So, main underlying causes of World War One. We use this acronym MAIN. It's an easy way to learn and remember the causes. So, what's the M stand for? M stands for militarism. And as I have for you here, when a country focuses on building up their military forces. So when the government takes the money and they put it towards their military, towards, recruiting more soldiers, towards building up new weapons. And this also was a result of imperialism. This competition to be the greatest country in the world led to an arms race, not your arms. Arms is a word for weaponry. So a race to, build the best weapons, the most weapons first between Great Britain, France, and Germany. What? Where did Germany come from? We haven't heard about Germany and imperialism. So Germany came in late to the game in imperialism, but they are a game player. They are practicing, everything that we've learned from imperialism, especially in the countries surrounding them. They're trying to pull in countries, unify them as into one German state. Okay. Examples of this militarism are that the armies of France and Germany doubled between 1870 and 1914. And there was a huge competition between Great Britain and Germany over mastery of the seas. So they're both building up their navies. This is an image of the Great Britain's dreadnought. It was actually used during World War One in response to them building the dreadnought. The Germans also draw up plans and build their own battleships. So, militarism, there you go. The next one, the A in Maine, alliances. So this has been a vocab term, and we haven't really done a lot with it yet because we're about to with the world wars. So you learn that an alliance is an agreement made between two or more countries to give each other help if needed. You're basically saying that you're going to have the other countries back if they're attacked. So we're going to look at some of the alliances that happened that will kind of explain then why they actually went to war when they did. So this is an image of something we would do in our interactive notebooks if we were in the classroom, but we're not. So one thing I want to point out, I'm just going to read this whole thing to you though, is that with these alliances, most of them were actually formal agreements where they may have signed a contract, and then some of them were informal agreements, just kind of a handshake between the leaders of the countries. So the first one is this dual alliance of 1879, and it's where Germany and Austria-Hungary form an alliance, and it's to protect themselves against Russia. So Russia is going to be this big area neighboring Germany and Austria-Hungary. And of course, we're talking about imperialism and these countries coming in late to the game, as I said. And so Germany and Austria-Hungary are agreeing that if Russia attacks either one of them, the other one will come in to help in the attack. Then we have the Austro-Serbian Alliance of 1881. So Austria-Hungary, who has an alliance with Germany, tries to have an alliance with Serbia to stop Russia gaining control of Serbia. However, this isn't going to work out very well in this alliance. Russia sees themselves as kind of the big brother of Serbia. But this is another alliance. Okay, and then we have in 1882 what is called the Triple Alliance. So we know that Germany and Austria-Hungary are already allies against, protecting themselves against Russia. So these two now make an alliance with Italy because they don't want Italy to take sides with Russia. So they make an alliance with Italy so that Italy will be on their side if Russia happens to attack. Now, on the flip side, of course, do we think Russia is just clueless as to all these alliances that are happening? Probably not. We know about imperialism. We know that there is that, part of it is that balance of power. So as one country sees other countries rising up in power, they want to compete with that. So Russia then, interestingly, forms an alliance in 1894 with France. So that's the Franco-Russia alliance. I think of this kind of like, I find it interesting. It's a good strategic plan, in my opinion, like an Oreo cookie. You've got Russia and France as the cookie, and Germany and Austria-Hungary are the cream. So Russia has picked, this neighbor over here to be allies and kind of squish them if needed. In 1904, we've got France and Great Britain. Makes sense with how close they are in location. This is more of an informal alliance that with each other. And then in 1907, these three end up becoming an alliance just because France and Russia are allies, and France and Britain are allies. So now Russia and Britain become allies. And this becomes the Triple Entente of 1907. So you have Great Britain, France, and Russia agreeing to have each other's back if Germany, Austria-Hungary, or Italy would attack, and vice versa. And then in 1914, the Triple Entente, they're still allies, but they actually sign an agreement to where it's called the No Separate Peace Alliance. And basically, they're saying that Britain will not sign a waiver of peace with Germany unless France and Russia, they all have to agree to this peace talk. So there's kind of just the foundation of these alliances. And you can see here, you've got the Triple Entente, which was France, Great Britain, and Russia versus the Triple Alliance, Austria-Hungary, Germany, Italy, each of them agreeing to have the others back if one of the countries should attack. Now, the next letter in Maine, M-A-I, imperialism. We have spent a lot of time on imperialism. When a country takes over new lands for their own benefit, you know that this causes great competition. They're hungry for resources. They want a balance of power. They want new markets. So imperialism really laid the foundation for militarism, alliances, and then the N, nationalism. But before we get to that, this is just a reminder, like our scramble for Africa, of what imperialism might look like, and these different European countries and the pieces that they took from the Berlin Conference in Africa, where no Africans were present and able to give voice as to what they wanted to go on in their own nations. So this leads to nationalism. So our N in MAINS. Again, a vocab term you guys have been telling me that it's having great love for or pride in your country. You're a great supporter of the rights and interests of your own country. Go USA. Germany is best. No, Italy is best. No, France is best. No, Russia is best. Get the picture? And the reasons they would be the best, whatever you're saying, that would be your nationalism, because of this or because of that, would be showing your pride in your country. So as we saw, imperialism and this nationalism, it's set up this tension between countries. There's some mistrust, there's some frustration. So far, we do not have a pathway for freedom or world peace. We more have this pathway that people are on edge and they want to align themselves with others in case of an attack from another country. So, what sets all this off? What finally sets the tension off? At the end of our main, the word main, we often put an S. so MAINS. So there is a spark that actually sets off fighting amongst these alliances. And the spark is the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. So, who is Franz Ferdinand? Well, he was the next in line to rule Austria Hungary. So, remember, Austria Hungary is allied with, pause, it's going to be a question. So, Austria Hungary. And Franz Ferdinand, he's next in line to be the ruler. And he's really unpopular with the people of Austria Hungary because he pretty much said when he becomes emperor, he's going to make a lot of changes. Okay. So he visits Sarajevo and he visits Sarajevo to make an inspection of his troops, militarism, that are there. Okay. So this inspection is set up for the 28th of June, 1914. It was planned, pretty far in advance. His wife is with him. They're going to kind of be on a parade through Sarajevo to show themselves off. In the meantime, knowing that this was a planned visit, a Serbian terrorist group called the Black Hand has decided that the Archduke should be assassinated. Now, remember, Austria-Hungary's tried to make an alliance with Serbia, so they think they're allies with Serbia. So this Serbian terrorist group, they are going to assassinate him. They try 3 different times. Every assassination attempt failed, but the 4th attempt was successful, and they kill both Franz Ferdinand and his wife. So, how exactly is this the spark that led to fighting between those 6 countries? Well, when the Archduke was shot and killed in Sarajevo, Bosnia, that was all Austria pretty much felt like they needed to declare war on Serbia. So Austria declares war on Serbia, who they tried to have an alliance with, but Russia really sees themselves as the protector of Serbia. So Austria declares war on Serbia after this assassination on July 28th of 1914. And a few short days later, on August 1st, Germany, seems like all they were waiting on was a reason, declares war on Russia and France. And because of all these alliances that I just told you about, on August 4th, Great Britain declares war on Germany. So, militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism, they all were there. And then you have the spark, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, that created this explosion into, well, since you have now attacked us, we are going to attack you. And it was a domino effect with these alliances. So when you go back to the playlist today, you will also see a link to this image. So this is my image, kind of like my own little political cartoon for the causes of World War I. Your task, you will see also in the instructions, you're going to make a copy. You can edit this, you can paint over it, you can write on it, but I want you to identify parts of this picture that match the causes of World War I. I want you to explain to me how my political cartoon, so to speak, shows us the causes of World War I. Okay? And then we will learn about what was the United States doing when all this was going on. We are going to learn about weapons of World War I. We're going to learn about the outcome of World War I. So, feel free to rewatch the video so you can answer your questions, and then don't forget to go and do your task 3.